Vera's bringing you the ultimate feel-good story. You think this is another tangled tale of rekindled, torturous love with ex-husband after rebirth. Wrong. Our leading lady's all about no internal conflict. Swap stocks on the spot. Husband's high-ranking and powerful but can't protect his wife and daughter. Kick him to the curb. Come watch our clear-headed businesswoman reach the peak of life by switching husbands. I'm a merchant's daughter who married the disgraced son of the Marquis of Jingyuan out of gratitude for saving my life. 3 years later, the new emperor granted a general amnesty. Lu Qingyuan brought me and Wanyang back to the capital. At a palace banquet, I was framed and set up, my reputation utterly ruined. That is when I learned that Lu Qingyuan and the new emperor's biological younger sister, Princess Wanning, were childhood sweethearts. Lu Qingyuan said he didn't care, but I knew that in this deep palace compound, I wouldn't live long. Taking advantage of Lu Qingyuan's absence, my heart and meridians shattered, vital energy attacking my heart. I suffered through the night, and as dawn approached, I died in despair. When I woke again, I had returned to the night before I first met Lu Qingyuan. I startled awake from my dream, drenched in cold sweat. My chest still seemed to hold that unbearable wrenching pain from my past life, leaving me unable to speak a word. In my ears I could still seem to hear Lu Qingyuan's shocked and anguished voice. I sat from night until dawn before the reality of rebirth truly sank in. In my past life, I saved Lu Qingyuan who was being exiled, his whole body in disarray, his face flushed red with fever. He'd collapsed on my way home. I observed that though the man was thin, his face was handsome, a good candidate for marrying into the family. So I saved him, greased palms here and there, and managed to bring him to my Shen residence. After he woke up, I asked him if he was willing to marry in, and he fell silent for a long while. I felt regretful, finally met someone who caught my eye, but alas, he was unwilling. Makes sense? Looking at him, he clearly wasn't a local from the border city. The border city had been plagued by war for years. The people lived in constant uncertainty, so the local customs were open and minded, not bound by those stuffy conventions. That is also why I came here to do business. First, the border city had abundant resources. As long as you had guts, you could make a fortune. Second, you wanted to find a husband to marry in. The Shen family only had 2 daughters. I'm the eldest, bearing the zhongyan of carrying on the family legacy. My younger sister was naturally timid. She'd stutter just making eye contact with people, and tears would well up in her eyes after a few words. So talking business was out of the question. Father took her to see the shops a couple times, then could only sigh with his hands behind his back, placing all his hopes on me. Seeing that I was almost 25 and still hadn't found a husband to marry in, Father decided to personally select someone. While running business away from home, I took the caravan to the border city alone, and on the first day, I saved Lu Qingyuan at the city gate. I thought it was a match made in heaven, but alas, the man didn't agree. Oh well, a forced melon isn't sweet. The next day, I was planning to move Lu Qingyuan to the clinic. After all, an outside man with no ties staying at the Shen residence wasn't appropriate. But Lu Qingyuan said he agreed. I was surprised, but didn't press for the reason. Instead, I instructed the butler to prepare things for the wedding. Lu Qingyuan's background was not clean and he had been exiled. His family and relatives were no longer by his side, with no ties or attachments. And that was exactly the kind of person I needed. After we married, I settled down here. Lu Qingyuan couldn't leave the border town. Lu Qingyuan and I lived in the border town for 3 years, and the Shen family's business successfully opened up trade routes. My parents also went from angry scolding at first to coaxing me to come home for a visit. It was because in the 2nd year after marriage, my daughter Wanyang was born. Lu Qingyuan was a scholar. After Wanyang was born, he stayed home to support his wife and teach his daughter while I handled business outside. The division of labor between husband and wife was clear, and he never complained. In my spare time, I would also get curious and ask about his past, but he absolutely refused to talk about it. He only said the past was over. What mattered was the future. I smiled after hearing this and didn't mind. Lu Qingyuan was taciturn and never interfered with my business, and I was very satisfied. Since he didn't want to bring up the past, I didn't force him. It wasn't until the new emperor ascended the throne and granted a general amnesty, when the imperial edict reached the border town, that I learned Lu Qingyuan was actually the son of the Marquis of Jingyuan, the new emperor's cousin. Along with the general amnesty edict came another decree appointing Lu Qingyuan as junior tutor to the crown prince. I was shocked by Lu Qingyuan's identity. Although I had long suspected his origins weren't simple, I never imagined they were this noble. That very night, I wrote out a divorce agreement. I had never asked for much to begin with. Lu Qingyuan's status was too noble, and the Shen family wasn't worthy of him. Lu Qingyuan took the divorce papers, his face dark and unreadable. I promised him. I've been good to you these past 3 years. Wanyang is mine after. You return to the capital, you'll still have your own new life. Don't worry, Wanyang and I won't come looking for you. I'll also make the servants in the household keep their mouths shut and never mention to outsiders that you married into our family. I thought what he cared about was having married into the Shen family. A merchant household. I never expected that after hearing my words. Lu Qingyuan's expression became even more unpleasant. His fingertips turned white, his gaze staring straight at me as he said, "His Majesty already knows about my marriage in the border city, and has ordered me to bring you and Wanyang back to the capital together. Are you trying to make me defy the imperial decree?" I was stunned, never expecting that the new emperor would even meddle in Lu Qingyuan's family affairs. At that time, I didn't suspect anything. I put away the divorce papers, arranged the family business, and returned to the capital with Wanyang and him. Once I went, I could never again leave that cage of power. At daybreak, I packed my luggage and had Shungxi tell the merchant caravan to take a detour. Although Shungxi didn't understand the reason, she still obediently went to relay the message. I sighed. A great disparity in status makes a poor match. Let's just say I'm being cowardly. Lu Qingyuan, I'm sorry. Taking the caravan on a big detour, delaying for 4 or 5 days, I finally led people into the city. As expected, having missed that timing, I didn't encounter Lu Qingyuan. With the experience from my previous life, my business in the border city developed very smoothly. After settling down, I sent a letter to my parents. With the exact address in hand, the furious scolding letters from my parents arrived within 2 days. I was looking at the account books, while Chungxi read the letter aloud beside me, her voice growing quieter and quieter. "Unfilial daughter. Miss, you'd better read it yourself. Just put it down." Chungxi breathed a sigh of relief, set down the letter, and ran out. I finished reading the account books before picking up the letter. The pages full of scolding hid underlying worry, making the corners of my mouth lift slightly. At the end of the letter, my father had written, "Don't think you can avoid marriage by running away. The husband I've chosen for you is already on his way. Get along well with him, and we'll hold the wedding when you return." I froze. My father was actually forcing this on me. With no time to worry about business, I called for Chengxi and sent people to intercept him. Unexpectedly, the very next day, my fiancé arrived at my door. Looking at the man standing in front of the Shen residence, strikingly handsome and gentle as jade, I was dumbstruck. I led him inside. I sat while he stood, afraid my father had done something to pressure him. I confirmed repeatedly, "Young master, are you in some kind of difficulty? It is all right, you can speak frankly. Don't worry about my parents. I'm the one in charge of the Shen family now." The man's gaze was open and clear, his eyes smiling. "Miss Shen, your father hasn't done anything to put me in a difficult position. I heard the news that the Shen family was seeking a husband to marry in, and I actively requested that Master Shen accept me." I looked him up and down several times. With my years of experience navigating the business world, the man before me wasn't so simple. Showing up at my door voluntarily, there was definitely something fishy going on. I sighed. "Young master, I'm sorry, all of this is just my father's wishful thinking. I currently have no plans to get married. Upon hearing this, the man showed no anger, only smiled and said, Then I'll have to trouble miss to arrange a place for me to stay. This time Immershen only paid for my journey here, and I'm now penniless with nowhere to go. I didn't expect my father to be like this. I smiled awkwardly and said, Young master, don't worry. I'll pay for your return trip, and you can set off tomorrow. The man shook his head in refusal. I cannot accept rewards without merit. How can I accept Mrs. Gift? No money. Yet won't let me pay. Is he trying to leech off me? I squinted my eyes and looked at him for a long while. The man maintained his smile throughout, and only then did I realize. So he is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Xilingju, the fiancé me father arranged, ended up staying. Within a few days he'd gotten familiar with everyone in the household. Even Chengxi, when mentioning him, would unconsciously speak well of him. Miss Yang Master Shi specially had the kitchen stew pear water for you. The border region is so dry, and your throat is uncomfortable. Drinking some pear water daily will soothe your throat. Hearing this, my hand reaching for the pear water paused. Then I withdrew it. Seeing me not move, Chengxi's eyes showed disapproval. Miss, you've coughed several times from morning till now. Helplessly, I picked up the pear water again and took a couple of sips. Only then did Chengxi stop talking. Xilingju entered just at that moment. Seeing me put down the bowl, a smile appeared in his eyes. When Chengxi saw him come in, her eyes darted between the two of us, and thinking of something, she burst out laughing. I coughed twice and told her to leave. Xilingju had absolutely no awareness of being dependent on others' hospitality, and sat down in front of me on his own. I frowned. Young Master Xia, you've stayed here for many days now. Your parents at home must be worried. The meaning of showing him out was obvious in my words, but Xilingju suddenly lowered his eyes dejectedly. I have no father or mother. I grew up in the orphanage in Qingcheng. I froze for a second, countless thoughts flashing through my mind. In the end, only one sentence kept looping in my head. I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth. My mouth opened and closed. Silence spread between us, and I, usually so silvered and tongued, was at a loss for words. Xilingju lifted his head with a pitiful smile. It is all right, Miss Shen. I'll leave tomorrow. You needn't worry. With that, he slowly stood up, his back looking forlorn and pitiful, walking out with hesitant steps. I struggled internally for a long time, morality and reason battling it out, and in the end, morality won. Wait, young Master Shi. Xilingju immediately turned around, his gaze burning as he looked at me. I spoke with difficulty. Isn't young Master Shi penniless? Why not work as a teacher at the Shen family's shop? Looking at your hands, you should know how to write. Why not earn some silver here? Xilingju chuckled softly. All right then, thank you very much, miss. Hearing his teasing tone, I immediately regretted it, but it was too late to go back on my word. Just like that, Xilingju became the accountant at my house, and we saw each other every day without fail. Before, we could only meet at the manor, but now I could see him every time I went out. Chengxi thought I deliberately arranged him to be by my side, and every time she saw us standing together, she'd smile with that knowing look. I had no way to explain myself. Beep, 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 sisters, pay attention. The most skilled hunters often appear in the guise of prey. This young Master Xia definitely has some top-tier green tea cultivation going on, playing pitiful, acting weak, advancing by retreating. With this combo move, or tough. On the outside, soft on the inside career, focused female lead stands no chance, compared to the previous life stuffy-gourd male lead who never said anything. This type who has 800 scheming thoughts but uses them all to lock you down. Isn't that just chef's kiss? Second male lead taking the top spot, lock it in for me. After spending 3 peaceful months in the border town, the busyness of this period almost made me forget about my previous life. Later, I inquired about news of Lu Qingyuan, thinking that even if I didn't save him, secretly helping him out to make things easier would settle the karmic ties from the previous life. But surprisingly, there was no exiled person named Lu Qingyuan in the border town. When I heard this news, I was dazed, momentarily unsure whether my previous life was real or just a dream. But this didn't trouble me for long. Since he wasn't here, I'd just treat my previous life as a dream. Until one day when I was inspecting the shops, I ran into Lu Qingyuan on the street. He wore a full set of black tight Zan-fitting clothes, his face cold and stern, the aura around him quite similar to when he would hold a high position 5 years later. I stood there in place, my gaze staring straight at him. He was very alert and turned to look directly in my direction. I fearfully avoided his gaze and took Chengxi to change direction. Even from far away, I could feel the burning gaze on my back. My heartbeat skipped half a beat. Returning to the Shen residence, my thoughts were all over the place. Actually, Lu Qingyuan treated me pretty well. It is just that I was scared. In my previous life, after returning to the capital, the Jingyuan Marquis Manor was rebuilt, and the new emperor Rizan bestowed upon Lu Qingyuan the title of Jingyuan Marquis. For a time, the Jingyuan Marquis Manor's prestige was unmatched. Not long after, the new emperor summoned Lu Qingyuan into the palace. When he returned, the new emperor's sister, Princess Wanning, came, along with him. When we first met, Princess Wanning smiled warmly, affectionately calling me cousin Danan Zanlaw, and was very friendly to Wanyang as well. I was deceived by her appearance, thinking she was pure and lovely, with a childlike heart, truly regarding me as her cousin Danan Zanlaw. I never imagined that a princess who could accompany the new emperor to victory in the succession struggle could possibly be so naive. Lu Qingyuan had just returned to the center of power, and was busy with official duties. Princess Wanning often left the palace to visit me at the manor and play with Wanyang. Although I felt it was inappropriate, Princess Wanning said pitifully that in the palace, apart from His Majesty, everyone else was not her family. Only here could she feel at ease. I thought she was pitiful, but forgot that even as her own brother, His Majesty, and the Empress couldn't let her regard them as family. What virtue or ability did I have? After Lu Qingyuan brought me back to the capital, he never restrained me, but merchants are of lowly status, especially so beneath the imperial city. When Princess Wanning brought rumors from outside, I looked at Wanyang, gritted my teeth, handed back the Shen family business, bound myself into the shell of a marquise's wife, and contentedly stayed home to support my husband and raise my child. Lu Qingyuan and I had swapped roles. Life in this imperial city was stifling and oppressive. Seeing my unhappiness, Lu Qingyuan took me to attend a palace banquet. At the palace banquet, every seat was filled with nobles, and I dared not make the slightest mistake. Suddenly, someone came to toast us. Lu Qingyuan stood up, but the visitor came with ill intent. The person spoke loudly. I heard that young Master Lu once married into the Shen family at the border town, and now your daughter still bears the Shen family name. I wonder whether the Jingyuan Marquis Manor will be surnamed Lu or Shen in the future. Eh? At these words, the entire hall fell silent. Everyone carefully stole glances this way, and my heart sank. Lu Qingyuan's expression remained unchanged as he took the wine and drank it in one gulp. Whether it is Lu or Shen is a matter for my Marquis Manor, so I won't trouble Brother Qi to concern himself. But if Brother Qi is willing to be adopted under my name, there will certainly be a place for Brother Qi among the heirs of the Marquis Manor. At these words, the entire hall burst into laughter, and the man's face flushed red. With His Majesty still seated on high, the man flicked his sleeves and left in anger. Lu Qingyuan was humiliated like this, but after sitting down he remained calm and composed. I pondered for a moment, then still explained. I wasn't the one who spread this. I've warned all the servants of the Shen family. No one would dare say anything. This explanation was pretty weak, but at the moment, I had no evidence to prove myself. I know. Don't worry, I trust you. Seeing I was still tense, Lu Qingyuan sighed, reached his hand under the table, and held my hand. The palace banquet was outdoors. The dishes on the table were cold, but his hand was warm. I breathed a sigh of relief, looked up and smiled at him. Lu Qingyuan looked at me, a smile flashing in his eyes. He said, "Give me a little time? Wait for me?" I didn't understand what he meant. He didn't explain further, so I swallowed my questions, planning to ask him again when we got back. Just then, Princess Wanning had palace servants bring over warm wine. When pouring the wine, a servant accidentally spilled some on my clothes. I didn't mind at first, but the servant knelt and begged me to go change clothes. That is when I learned that having soiled clothes at a palace banquet was disrespectful. I had no choice but to get up and go with her to change. Lu Qingyuan reminded me not to wander off and to come back quickly. I agreed, but didn't expect that as soon as I followed the servant into the room, I'd suddenly feel a sharp pain at the back of my neck and lose consciousness. Before losing consciousness, a familiar figure flashed before my eyes. Then I plunged into darkness. When I woke up again, I found myself locked in a cramped side hall, with a strange man lying beside me, also unconscious. My outer garment had been maliciously torn and disheveled. Outside the room, there were gasps of shock from Princess Wanning and a group of ladies. My head was foggy and confused, unable to defend myself. Lu Qingyuan soon arrived. Ignoring Princess Wanning's attempts to stop him, he entered the inner room alone and shielded me. I was weak all over. He took off his outer robe and wrapped me tightly in it, ignoring the strange man on the ground, and took me out in heavy silence. Outside the door, the ladies' voices buzzed in my ears like mosquitoes and flies. Even with my eyes closed, I could feel their contemptuous gazes. Princess Wanning blocked Lu Qingyuan's path and said loudly, "Cousin, I had no idea Sister Zan La would be here having a tryst with someone. That is why I brought people over." Lu Qingyuan had no time for anything else. He just gave her one cold glance, and she was so frightened she stopped speaking. Lu Qingyuan walked with me along the palace path. His hand was trembling as he murmured, "Don't be afraid. I'll make them all shut up and avenge you. We'll be just like before." I closed my eyes, letting tears slide down my temples. I knew that rumors cut like knives. We could never go back to how things were. Back at the Marquise's manor, the lights were blazing throughout. Lu Qingyuan summoned the manor's physician. My head throbbed with pain, and overcome with shock and fear, I fell into unconsciousness. When I woke up again, it was the evening of the next day. Lu Qingyuan was watching over me, his eyes ringed with dark circles. My throat was dry and hoarse. I lifted my fingers slightly, but quickly lowered them again. I closed my eyes, thinking about what to do next, when Wanyang's crying and shouting came from outside. Lu Qingyuan was awakened by the noise. He checked on my condition first thing, while I kept my eyes closed, pretending to sleep. He breathed a sigh of relief before going out. I sat up, ignoring the dizziness before my eyes, threw on some clothes and got up to walk to the door. Outside, Wanyang was crying. Lu Qingyuan was trying to comfort her, and Princess Wanning was there too. "Be good, Wanyang. Your mother is resting inside. She'll come see you tomorrow." "That is right. Wanyang, you go back first. Auntie will bring you to see your mother tomorrow. She won't do anything foolish." Hearing this, Wanyang's crying, which had been subsiding, suddenly grew louder. She was already 4 years old enough to read the expressions on people's faces, and know that something big had happened at home. As soon as Wanning arrived, she went to find Wanyang and brought the rumors from outside into the manor. Before Lu Qingyuan could suppress them, Wanyang had already heard most of it and came running over in a panic. Remembering the figure I saw before losing consciousness, my heart burned with anxiety. In my haste, I fell to the ground, knocking over a vase. The noise from inside the room startled Lu Qingyuan. He couldn't worry about Wanyang anymore, and rushed back into the room. Wanyang followed closely behind, calling out again and again, "Mother." My hands were covered with red marks from scrapes. Sitting on the ground, powerless to get up, Lu Qingyuan saw this and quickly helped me to my feet. Why didn't you call me? I remained silent, looking past his shoulder toward Wan Yang, who came running in, with Wan Ning following behind her. Seeing me look at Wan Yang, she revealed a malicious smile and slightly shifted her foot to block Wan Yang's path. Wan Yang was running urgently and wasn't on guard, falling heavily to the ground. Then Wan Ning put on a concerned appearance, lifting Wan Yang from behind and comforting her with false sympathy. My body stiffened, chilled to the bone, staring straight at Wan Ning. She didn't look at Wan Yang, only smiled at me, her eyes full of amusement and provocation. She didn't even try to conceal it. Her nail guard lightly scraped across Wan Yang's tender cheek as she silently mouthed, "It was me? So what?" I gripped Lu Qingyuan's shoulder tightly, thinking I was in great pain. He gently helped me back onto the bed. "I'll go call the physician." I wanted to stop him, to tell him it was Wan Ning who set this trap, but seeing Wan Ning's completely unconcerned manner, my hand dropped powerlessly. What could he do anyway? Princess Wan Ning showed no fear. She was the sovereign, Lu Qingyuan was a subject, and they were also cousins. As an outsider, who would Lu Qingyuan choose? Wan Ning was very satisfied with my tactfulness. She placed Wan Yang beside me. Wan Yang hugged me tightly, tears in her eyes, calling out, "Mother." I stroked Wan Yang's hair, carefully holding her in my arms, and asked calmly, "What does the princess want?" Wan Ning toyed with the candle flame and said, "Cousin and I have been childhood sweethearts since we were young. If the Marquis Manor hadn't fallen into misfortune, how would it be a lowly merchant's daughter like you's turn, and even giving birth to a child that brings shame to cousin?" She revealed a vicious glint in her eyes. I covered Wan Yang's ears tightly. She looked at me blankly, making no sound. "I will request to leave the household myself and take Wan Yang away from the capital." Princess Wan Ning had a marriage arrangement with the eldest son of General Wei Yuan's family, just waiting to marry after the new year. I had never thought she had such feelings for Lu Qingyuan. Wan Ning shook her head, her lips parting slightly. "I want you dead. You die, and only then can your child live peacefully." My heart tightened, and I instinctively looked toward Wan Yang. Wan Yang had cried herself tired and was now asleep in my arms, with tear stains still at the corners of her eyes. She was still so young. Could Lu Qingyuan protect her? I was silent for a moment and asked, "Does the princess truly mean this?" Princess Wan Ning made an oath on the spot. "I swear on my honor as a princess, if the Shen family's life ends here, I will treat Wan Yang as my own child. If I violate this oath, I will be expelled from the royal family and will not have a peaceful death." I believed her. I had to believe her. That very night I sent Lu Qingyuan away. I was already depleted of both qi and blood, and after this great calamity, my heart was extremely weakened. Lu Qingyuan was completely unaware. While I was still conscious, I clutched tightly onto Lu Qingyuan's sleeve, begging him to protect Wan Yang and not hand her over to Princess Wan Ning. Lu Qingyuan didn't understand at first, not until my heart meridian completely ruptured and crimson blood spilled from my mouth. Reading this really makes my fists clench. Wan Ning, this absolute villainess, actually pretending to be a good person while tripping a child. And Lu Qingyuan, besides gazing affectionately and saying, "Wait for me." What else can you even do? Your wife was driven to her death filled with hatred and resentment, forced to the brink with heartbreak and despair. Those who get it, and you don't even have the ability to protect her and your daughter. No wonder after the female lead's rebirth, she doesn't even want to look at you. This kind of powerless devotion is truly cheaper than grass. Can we please switch back to the feel-good story channel already? After running into Lu Qingyuan on the street, I stayed cooped up in the manor for 2 days without going out. Xie Lingju didn't go out either, claiming it was his rest days, and kept me company in the manor for 2 whole days. On the 3rd day, Samani came to the manor to propose marriage. The person who floated into my mind was Lu Qingyuan, and indeed, the visitor was Lu Qingyuan. The first moment I looked at him directly, my heart trembled. His aura had become even colder and sharper. "Miss Shen, I am Lu Qingyuan. I've heard that your manor is seeking a live Zan in Sun Zan and Zan law, so I've specially come to propose marriage. Before I could speak, Chengxi objected first. Young master, or miss already has a fiancé. Lu Qingyuan's eyes darkened. Chengxi. I called out to stop Chengxi. Chengxi retreated feeling wronged. I coughed lightly. Young master Lu, me apologies. But the Shen family doesn't take in sons Dan and Dan law. I'm afraid you heard the wrong information. Lu Qingyuan stared at me without blinking. I dodged his gaze, wanting to send him off. Young master Lu, it is inconvenient to receive guests at home. Please feel free to leave. Lu Qingyuan stood with his hands behind his back, locked in a standoff with me. Just then, Shi Lingju arrived. Quite lively here. Miss Shendo, you need my help? I felt relieved and pulled Shi Lingju over, saying, This is my fiancé, Shi Lingju. Young master Lu, the Shen family really doesn't take in sons Dan and Dan law. Lu Qingyuan's gaze shifted back and forth between Shi Lingju and me, his eyes growing darker. Shi Lingju held my hand, cupped his fist and smiled. Young master Louis, I'm not particularly talented, but I arrived earlier than you. This matter of marrying into the family also follows a first Dan comes and first Dan served basis. Doesn't it? Why don't you try looking at other families? Lu Qingyuan looked at me deeply, said nothing more, turned around and left. I called out to him. Take your things with you. Lu Qingyuan waved his hand with his back to me, his voice low and hoarse. This is what I owe you, just accept it. I stopped in my tracks, my heart suddenly sinking. Lu Qingyuan was indeed as I had suspected. He had also come back. Shi Lingju's hand hadn't let go yet. So Miss Shen has agreed. Then let's hurry back to Qingcheng and get the wedding done. His tone was teasing. I knew in my heart that I had used him this time, and for a moment didn't know how to respond. Shi Lingju found himself a way out. Just kidding, Miss Shen. I'll keep waiting for you to accept me. But before that, I should earn some silver first. Miss Shen, you can't just discard me after I've served my purpose. I burst out laughing and said. With young Master Shi's talent, the Shen household wouldn't dare to dismiss you casually. This was true. Shi Lingju was really capable. His account books were beautifully done, and he had excellent calligraphy. Working at my shop was beneath his abilities. In the middle of the night, I tossed and turned, my mind filled with Lu Qingyuan and Wanyang. The next day, I had dark circles under my eyes. Shi Lingju saw but said nothing, only he spent even more time by my side. Since last time, I hadn't seen Lu Qingyuan again. When we met again, it was at my jewelry shop. Behind him followed a young maiden. The girl's voice was coquettish and petulant. When she turned around, through her veil, I recognized those eyes. It was Princess Wanning. I couldn't help but stiffen, my hands and feet turning ice and cold, as if I'd returned to that night. Lu Qingyuan's voice grew closer from afar. I snapped back to my senses. Young Master Lu. Lu Qingyuan's eyes were dark, seeming to conceal concern. He asked, Are you all right? I forced a smile. I'm fine, thank you for your concern, young master. Wanning walked to Lu Qingyuan's side, her eyes full of hostility as she looked at me. She clung to Lu Qingyuan's arm. Cousin. Who is this? Lu Qingyuan's expression was cold. He pulled his arm from her hold, the corner of his mouth twitching. The shop owner. Wan Ning's face stiffened, unable to lash out. She turned to look at me and said overbearingly, So, you're the owner of this shop and you're actually a woman. From the looks of it, you're not married yet, right? Are you engaged to anyone? Doesn't he mind you showing your face in public like this? Every sentence was provocative, with an air of superiority. I wasn't surprised at all. This was her true nature. In my past life, she was kind and gentle to me, only to lower my guard. Lu Qingyuan frowned upon hearing this and was about to speak, when Shi Lingju stepped out from behind me. Miss Shen is my fiancée, and also my boss. I rely on her to support me, so how could I care about such trivial matters? Upon hearing this, Princess Wan Ning breathed a sigh of relief. With a look of disdain, she sized him up twice, then glanced at me and snorted. Remote backwater places are indeed crude and vulgar. Lu Qingyuan snapped coldly, Wan Ning. Princess Wan Ning was indignant. Ixi Lingju smoothed things over. You two are dressed so extraordinarily, these ordinary items surely can't catch your eyes. Upstairs we have our shop's treasure. Why don't you move upstairs to take a look? Princess Wan Ning's expression showed interest. She didn't think the jewelry was bad. But if there was something better upstairs, she wanted to see it. You take me to see it. I froze. Princess Wan Ning was actually pointing at me. Before I could think of a reason to refuse, Lu Qingyuan and Shi Lingju both spoke up in rejection. No. Princess Wan Ning narrowed her eyes, her dissipated suspicion rising again. I want her. Lu Qingyuan's eyes showed impatience. Xi Lingju's expression shifted. I knew well that no one here had higher status than her, and no one could go against her wishes. All right, I'll take Miss there. Princess Wan Ning huffed and followed me upstairs. Xi Lingju stopped Lu Qingyuan, who wanted to follow, saying, Young Master Lu, stop here. If you go up, you'll only make things worse. Lu Qingyuan's steps halted. He clenched his fists, his face darkening. Shi Lingju wasn't afraid at all. He followed behind Princess Wan Ning and came upstairs with us. I had spent 2 years with Princess Wan Ning. Whether her intentions were genuine or not, I had more or less figured out her preferences. There was no real treasure of the store upstairs, but compared to those downstairs, they were indeed more refined. Remembering that Wan Ning favored purple, I took out a gold and jade bracelet that had just been finished some days ago. It was inlaid with a circle of purple pearls, valuable for their rarity. Wan Ning's eyes revealed a look of amazement. Though she was a princess, the one sitting on the throne now was her father emperor, not her own brother. In the imperial palace, the consorts and concubines picked the tributes and treasures first. She wasn't favored and barely survived by relying on her brother. By the time they were distributed to her, they were all leftovers from other selections. The gold and jade bracelet before her eyes indeed hit exactly what her heart desired. Wan Ning restrained her look of amazement. She said arrogantly, So this is your treasure of the store. It is nothing special. I smiled. This is just one piece. There is a complete matching set of jewelry and accessories. If Miss likes it, I'll have someone fetch it from our branch store. Wan Ning's eyes lit up with excitement. Then hurry up and bring them out. I said, Let's wait downstairs. I'll have someone go get them. Wan Ning nodded, completely forgetting about wanting to make things difficult for me. Seeing us come out, Xi Lingju was waiting outside the door. His gaze swept over my face, asking if I was all right. I shook my head. Downstairs, Lu Qingyuan stood tall with an outstanding bearing, his elegant figure standing upright. I paused in my steps. This was his true appearance, full of vigor and spirit. Princess Wan Ning suddenly leaned close to me. Keep your eyes to yourself. Don't harbor thoughts you shouldn't have. Some people, you're not even worthy of looking at them. If I wanted to destroy you, it would be as easy as turning my hand. My expression remained unchanged as I smiled indifferently. Mrs. Joking, I already have a fiancé. How could I develop feelings for someone else? Princess Wan Ning looked at Lu Qingyuan suspiciously. Seeing that he wasn't paying attention to me anymore, she reluctantly let her guard down. The gold and jade jewelry set was delivered. Princess Wan Ning was very satisfied. Xi Lingju beat me to it and announced the price. That'll be 1,000 taels. As soon as those words came out, Princess Wan Ning's expression changed. Lu Qingyuan looked up at me. I maintained my smile while grinding my teeth internally. He really dared to quote that price. In a border town like this, jewelry and accessories were worth the least. Yet, Shi Lingju smiled at the two of them. Which of you two will be paying? Wan Ning's face looked terrible. Her monthly allowance wasn't much. She couldn't afford it at all. Lu Qingyuan took out a 1,000 tile banknote and said, "I'll take it." Princess Wanning showed a delighted expression, while I revealed a smile of expectation. It seems my choice in my previous life was right. If I hadn't made that decisive decision, Princess Wanning would have eventually made a move against Wan Yang. And in Lu Qingyuan's heart, perhaps both Wan Yang's and my lives combined couldn't match the weight of Princess Wanning's bargaining chip. After returning, Shilingju put away the smile he'd worn all day, his face darkening as he asked, "You're very afraid of them." "Why, me, I'm not afraid of them. I'm just afraid of the power they hold." "You saw it too. They have noble status, while my Shen family is just a lowly merchant household. Pack up, we'll set off back to Qingcheng tomorrow. Border City is too small. I don't want to see them again." Shilingju's expression was somber, clearly weighed down by my words. I forced a smile, trying to ease the atmosphere. "It is fine. If we can't provoke them, can't we? At least avoid them. Don't worry. They're just passing through. It'll be fine once we're back in Qingcheng." These past days, Shilingju's companionship had ultimately entered my heart. I unconsciously included him in our group. Shilingju should have been happy about my lack of guard, but seeing me force a smile at this moment, he only felt heartache. "All right, we'll go back to Qingcheng." Early the next morning, we set off on our journey, leaving all the business in Border City for the old steward to manage. After returning to Qingcheng, the old steward sent me a letter saying that Lu Qingyuan had come to the residence again, but upon hearing that I had left, he left behind a complete set of gold and jade hair ornaments, and departed dejectedly. I was shocked. That set of ornaments, he actually didn't give them to Wan Yang, but I have no time to think about it now. The most important thing right now is dealing with my parents' pressure to get married. I brought Shilingju back with me. My parents received the news, and by the time I got home, they had already set up the wedding hall. Shilingju and I were forced into it. Me parents had sealed the doors in advance, determined that we couldn't leave without getting married. Shilingju and I looked at each other. He smiled with squinted eyes and said, "Miss, since Lord Shen has so kindly invited me, I can hardly refuse. After all, when an elder bestows something, one dare not decline." What the hell elder bestowing him a wife? And he dares to accept it. I was forced through the wedding ceremony and sent to the bridal chamber. My parents pushed us into the room and locked the door. I banged on the door, while Shilingju wandered around the bridal chamber with great interest. Dragon and phoenix wedding candles, red cloth throughout the hall, illuminating everyone's faces with a rosy glow. When I got tired of knocking, Shilingju patted the bed and said, "Sit down and rest a bit." I looked at him warily. He shook his head with a smile. "Shen Jinzhao, let me tell you about my childhood." I found a stool and sat down. Since I couldn't get out anyway, might as well pass the time. I've been living in the orphanage since I can remember. There were many children there, and I couldn't get enough to eat or stay warm. I often went out to beg, and the Shen family would frequently give charity. Hearing this, I sat up straight. "No way." Shilingju looked at me and laughed out loud. "It is exactly what you're thinking. That is when I met you." The Shen family would often bring their family members when giving charity. Old Master Shen was kind-hearted, and the porridge he made was thick and rich, even better than the orphanage food. I would often come to line up. "I still remember you were about 3 years old then, such a tiny little thing. When you saw someone snatch my porridge and break my bowl, you ran over and gave me 3 candies. They were the last few candies you had." Recalling those times, Shilingju couldn't help but show a nostalgic expression. That was the first time he had tasted candy. I tried hard to recall, but helplessly. I was too young at the time, and had no impression of Shilingju at all. Shilingju said gently, "So, don't worry, I don't have any ill intentions. Old Master Shen has been kind to me. I won't do anything that would harm the Shen family." That night, one of us by the bed, one by the table, I listened to him talk about things from the past. 2 days later, the door to the bridal chamber opened. I rushed out immediately. Mom and Dad had locked themselves in their room, the door tightly shut. Zhao Zhao, the marriage is done. You two, husband and wife, should have a child soon. That kid Lingju said all your children will have the Shen surname. The future of the Shen family depends on you. I banged on the door. But Mom and Dad were determined not to come out. I said angrily, "This is forced buying and selling. Ji Lingju is a free man. Be careful or I'll report you to the authorities." My dad shouted from inside, "Go ahead and try. Who can testify?" Ji Lingju put up the notice himself. We didn't force him. My sister stood timidly to the side watching me, and said carefully, "Sis brother Zan and Zanlaw really did come on his own initiative. Mom and Dad didn't force him." I paused in my movements and turned to look at my timid sister. Sure enough, tears were welling up in her eyes, on the verge of falling. Clearly she was scared out of her wits. I sighed. What could I do? My parents were shameless in their old age. My sister was weak and timid. I still had to hold this family together. After returning, Shi Lingju and I established 3 rules. Once he entered the Shen family, he couldn't do anything detrimental to the Shen family, and the children would take the Shen surname in the future. This was beyond question. Learning from past experience, I asked him one last time. "How much do you remember about your family? A few years from now, somebody won't come looking for relatives, saying your status is too lofty to reach, and wanting to take you back to inherit a title or something. Right? Let's be clear from the start. I'll stay with the Shen family my whole life. If you find your relatives later, the children and I will stay with the Shen family, and you'll leave alone. We'll part on good terms." A trace of amusement flashed in Shi Lingju's eyes. He looked at me intently and said, "I was abandoned at the orphanage when I was still in swaddling clothes. I have no relatives, and even if I did, I wouldn't acknowledge them. From now on, you are my only family." As he spoke, he glanced at my belly with a smile. "And the child." I bashfully covered my belly, belatedly feeling embarrassed. This thing that didn't even exist yet. I'd talked about it like it was a done deal. If I didn't actually get pregnant, it would really seem like I couldn't live up to my words. I cleared my throat lightly and said, "Since we're married and have made our vows, we are husband and wife. I'm a merchant, and I value integrity above all. From now on, you are my husband." After I finished speaking, I lowered my head. After a long while, a soft laugh came from above my head, along with a gentle mum wife. 5 years later, I took Yuanan and Huaner to the Lantern Festival. In previous years, Shi Lingqiu would always accompany them. But this year he went to the border city to inspect the shops and couldn't make it back in time. In recent years, Great Yan has issued several new laws that are very friendly to merchants. And the status of merchants has clearly risen quite a bit. Shi Lingqiu also found ways to establish connections with the government. Through cooperation with officials, the Shen family business has been flourishing. The Lantern Festival was bustling with people coming and going. My younger sister held Huaner. Her eyes, which used to always brim with tears, were now crystal clear. When she saw someone bump into Huaner, she glared at them angrily, looking like she was ready to confront them. Every time I see her like this, I find it somewhat incredible. Our parents couldn't change my sister's temperament in all those years. But one Huaner managed to do it. Looking at Huaner again, I helplessly put my hand to my forehead. Huaner's eyes were brimming with tears, her little hands clutching tightly at my sister's collar, timidly shrinking into her embrace. Pulled my hand and said, "Mother, why don't we just go back? Little sister is scared." I couldn't bear to watch, so I simply pulled Yuanan away. The area was full of Shen family people. They wouldn't get lost. I took Yuanan to guess lantern riddles. Yuanan was very smart and won a mask. He held it up and said, "Mother, this is for you." I pinched his cute little face and put the mask on my face. When I looked up, I discovered a man wearing the same mask as me across the way, dressed in green with dark black eyes. His figure felt inexplicably familiar. I held my breath, staring at him motionlessly. Yuanan looked at the strange person across the way, then tugged at his dazed mother. Neither of them spoke. Suddenly, the person across the way moved, getting closer and closer. I never thought to avoid him, until he took off his mask in front of me. Lu Qingyuan crouched down and gave the mask in his hand to Yuanan. Yuanan looked up at me, I nodded, and only then did he accept it. Lu Qingyuan stood up. Looking at him, I felt as if a lifetime had passed. In my previous life, during those 2 years after returning to the capital, Lu Qingyuan would take me and Wanyang to the Lantern Festival. The capital's Lantern Festival was very lively, with many varieties. Wanyang always made a fuss about not wanting to go back, and Lu Qingyuan indulged her too. Now, without Wanyang, Lu Qingyuan and I are no longer what we once were. His dark gaze flashed with nostalgia as he said, "The new emperor has ascended the throne. Wan Ning and the third prince were demoted to commoners for treason, and exiled to the northern desert. No one can threaten you anymore." I was stunned. Hearing Wan Ning's name again, I could barely remember her. Qingcheng was too far away. News of the imperial succession hadn't reached here yet. The common people only cared about living and working in peace. Who cared who sat on the throne? Wan Yang is doing very well. She married a very good man and had a son who looks a lot like him. I looked down at Yuanyan. Yuanyan looked like me, and Wan Yang looked like me too. Wan Ning died in the 3rd year after you left. I'm sorry I was incompetent. In this life, it took me 5 years to deal with her. Now I have no ties. Truly all alone. I want to ask you. I interrupted him. Young Master Lu. I don't understand what you're talking about. My husband and I are doing very well now. Lu Qingyuan closed his mouth, his whole body exuding a sad sense of loneliness. I suddenly felt sad. We both knew full well that the other remembered everything. He once said he didn't care, but I cared. Neither of us could truly let go of the past or give up the present. For me, everything now was just fine. Lost in thought, I seemed to hear Shilingju's voice. "Wife." I turned my head and actually saw him. Yuanan was also excitedly bouncing in place, shouting, "Dad, little sister." Shilingju ran over holding Huaner, his face weathered but unable to hide his urgency. I instinctively supported him. "What are you running for? Do you still look like a father?" Looking at Huaner again, with a smile in her eyes, clapping her hands and saying she wanted more. I habitually wiped the sweat off Shilingju. Only then, remembering that Lu Qingyuan was still there. I turned around but didn't see his figure. Shilingju noticed I was distracted. He looked behind me and asked, "What is wrong?" I shook my head. Nothing. At this moment, Yuanan brought over that mask, presenting it like a treasure. Father quickly put on this mask. It is the same as the one on Mother's face. Only then did I remember the mask on my face had never been taken off. Just as I was about to remove it, Shilingju held my hand, then took the one from Yuanan's hand and put it on his face. "My lady, how do I look wearing this?" "Very good." Shilingju's visible eyes narrowed, full of smiles. The melancholy in my heart suddenly dissipated. Turning around again, I thought, the karma of my past life, the longing of this life, I can finally let go. Why do I feel a bit teary seeing this? Lu Qingyuan spent a full 5 years thoroughly settling scores with enemies and clearing obstacles. Came to find her full of joy, only to discover someone else was already by her side, and the children were old enough to run errands. This is the Dancium case of a missed bus. No matter how long you wait, won't have the original crew anymore. Although I feel sorry for his loneliness in this life, Vera can only say, "Well done." Why would broken mirrors mending compare to moving on to someone new? Cherishing young Master Xia before your eyes is the way to go. When Lu Qingyuan regained consciousness again, he discovered he had shrunk considerably. He looked dazed, as if he had returned to his childhood. While he was lost in thought, he heard low voices discussing in the study outside. After listening for a while, he finally remembered what time it was now. Auntie from the Yue family who had entered the palace had just miscarried, and the imperial physician said that Auntie would never be able to have children again. His Majesty, out of compassion, specially permitted Auntie to choose a motherless child to raise at her side. In the previous 2 lives, Auntie had chosen the 3rd prince both times, and along with that, Princess Wanning had also become his nominal cousin. Thinking of Wanning, a fierce look flashed in Lu Qingyuan's eyes. In the first life, Wanning set up a trap to frame her, causing Jin Zhao to die on the spot. That night, Jin Zhao suffered in pain for half the night, and even the imperial physician had no way to save her. He could only hold her tightly, watching in despair as she took her last breath in his arms. And the other lead character of that night, the legitimate son of General Wei Yuan, was also crippled by him through schemes. He plotted for a year before getting the new emperor to grant a marriage between Wanning and the illegitimate son of General Wei Yuan. Since they colluded together, let them receive severe punishment from the law together. But who was to blame for all this? Blame him, blame the new emperor. It was they who gave Wanning the confidence to harm Jin Zhao without any scruples. Lu Qingyuan wished he could destroy everything they had, and then go accompany Jin Zhao himself. But what about Wanyang? So Lu Qingyuan took his time with his plan. He befriended the 7th prince, and spent several years helping him seize the throne. On the day of the imperial succession, Lu Qingyuan took the evidence of crimes to the general's manor, which had long been stripped of official rank and was nothing but an empty shell, and exposed all the evidence to the world, leaving Wan Ning to spend her miserable remaining years in exile and extreme terror. He swore to make her taste all the suffering he had endured. Later, he chose a good family for Wan Yang, watched her marry and have children, arranged her future path, handed over all his hidden forces to her, and reminded her to keep power in her own hands. When everything was settled, he scattered all his wealth and died of melancholy, in endless longing following Jin Zhao in death. When he woke again, it was his second life. He woke quite early. The Lu family had not yet been used as a scapegoat by the 3rd prince, and exiled in collective punishment. This time, he dealt with the hidden threats, then immediately rushed to the border city. He would face Jin Zhao in his best form. This time, no one could hurt her. But the moment he saw Jin Zhao, Lu Qingyuan's heart sank to the bottom. He should have thought of it earlier. If even someone like him could experience rebirth, how could someone as wonderful as Jin Zhao not have such a miraculous encounter? Looking at Jin Zhao's terrified eyes, Lu Qingyuan retreated in fear for the first time. He didn't dare look into those eyes. Later, he watched her from the shadows. A new person appeared by her side. Although that man didn't have the prestige of imperial power, he could make Jin Zhao show a pure smile. This was a smile he hadn't seen in many years. He knew Jin Zhao was unhappy. After arriving in the capital, she was like a canary locked in a cage, beautiful but lifeless. But at that time, his mind was full of restoring the Jingyuan Marquis manor to its former glory, and he couldn't bear to part with her either. He wanted both. Later, he regretted deceiving Jin Zhao more than once. If they had parted ways in the border town, at least she could have lived carefree. So this time, he wouldn't allow anyone to disturb Jin Zhao. She wanted a simple life free from the intrusion of power, and he could give her that. When Wanning secretly ran to the border town and followed him to Jin Zhao's shop, he wanted nothing more than to dismiss her on the spot. But it was just such a coincidence that Jin Zhao saw her. Watching Jin Zhao's entire body stiffen, Lu Qingyuan's heart ached. The next day, he wanted to find her and explain everything, but Jin Zhao had left. Lu Qingyuan was disheartened. He left behind that set of jewelry, keeping only the gold and jade armlet that Jin Zhao had touched. After that, he left the border town taking Wanning with him. After returning to the capital, he secretly supported the 7th prince behind his family's back. It took 5 years of maneuvering to bring down the 3rd prince. This time, he had to deal with Wanning quickly. Unfortunately, when all the dust settled, he had also lost Jin Zhao. Watching her happiness, surrounded by children, Lu Qingyuan thought, "This is good too." And so, Lu Qingyuan watched over Jin Zhao from the shadows, carrying that gold and jade armlet, and spent his life alone. When he opened his eyes again, he was back in his childhood, at the starting point of everything. He pushed the seventh prince in front of his aunt before she could make a decision. Having cooperated with the seventh prince for 2 lifetimes, Lu Qingyuan understood him well. He was a qualified monarch. Then in the cold winter, he pretended to fall into the water, bribed the imperial physician, exaggerated his condition, and declared he wouldn't live past the 3rd year. Marquis Jingyuan had no choice but to make plans early and cultivate his second son. Lu Qingyuan retired after achieving success, persuaded his family to send him to Qingcheng to recuperate. This time he would watch over Jin Zhao as she grew up. On the first day of arriving in Qingcheng, Lu Qingyuan passed by a charity stall and seemed to hear Jin Zhao's call. He lifted the curtain and met eyes with the young little lady. She smiled and said, "Big brother, want some candy?" Lu Qingyuan's eyes showed a smile as he choked up and said, "Yeah." Wow, fam, surprising or not, unexpected or not, the grand finale actually came with a god-tier plot twist of a 3rd life. Turns out the most devoted redemption is going back to before all tragedies happened, cutting off all hidden dangers, then approaching you in the cleanest, safest manner. But here is the problem. Ex-husband Lu Qingyuan became a pure love childhood friend with memories of 3 lifetimes. So what about our green tea husband Zi Lingju, from the 2nd life who could act cute, do accounting, and remember 3 candies for a lifetime? This timeline is literally a battle of the gods. If there was a time machine, as a reader, which timeline would you prefer as the ultimate destination for the female lead Shen Jin Zhao? Hurry and show support for your CP in the comments. Green tea, delicate husband Zi Lingju. Steady happiness in the 2nd life, the past cannot be changed. But Xi Lingju healed everything. I am Team Young Master Xi. With 800 schemes all just to protect the female lead. Not bound by the power struggles of the capital. Living peacefully in the border city and Qing City as a pair of wealthy merchants. This kind of mutual devotion, plain yet warm roll swap feel. Good story is my absolute favorite B. 3 lives of redemption. Lu Qingyuan, childhood sweetheart of the 3rd life. This is such a tearjerker. I choose Lu Qingyuan. He spent his entire life, even dying alone, to make up for the mistakes of the first 2 lives. In the 3rd life, he even gave up his status as the heir to the Marquis estate, just to stay in Qing City and watch over her as she grows up. If you could restart, who wouldn't want a max-level big-shot childhood friend, who has spoiled you rotten since you were little? AC, solo beauty focused on career Shen Jin Zhao, men only slow down my money, making speed forget it, whether it is a noble marquis or a green tea accountant. None of them are as appealing as shiny silver. I choose the big female lead route. Since I am living a 2nd life, might as well focus on expanding the Shen family's trading company across the entire country, keep a few talented and beautiful confidants, and become the richest single wealthy woman in the entire Great Yan dynasty. Isn't that way better? Come vote now. Let's see which storyline is the moonlight in our readers' hearts. See you in the comments. Sending love.